Good morning, everyone. It's Bob Branch with another Daily Devo. And I want to take a little bit of time today and just kind of process some of these things that I've been thinking about during this whole pandemic and this whole quarantine period. There's been so many things that have changed for us that a lot of us are just feeling insecure. We're feeling anxious. Nationally, we're pretty divided. We're divided along racial lines and over religious lines and over all kinds of different things. Do you mask? Do you not wear a mask? Is this real? Is it not real? All these different things. And there's so much division that's going on in this whole thing. I also read an article the other day that basically said that suicide, that teens are 1 in 4 teens basically have contemplated suicide during this pandemic quarantine, that mental health is at an all-time low nationally, that people are very fragile. And I've been wrestling with why is it that these things are so? Because it's not just the people who are being financially taxed that are in the place of tension and of angst and anger and frustration. It's all of us. And as I've thought about this more and more, I want to throw an idea out here to you that I want you to think about. And that is that I believe that most of what we're going through, at least in terms of emotions and mental gymnastics, has to do with the loss of control. That we don't feel like we have control anymore. And so it's like the government has control, or the disease has control, or everybody else has control. And so different people are dealing with that in all kinds of different ways. You've got your mask people that are like, I'm going to control the way that I interact with this disease by wearing a mask and social distancing and preserving all these things that the government and the CDC are recommending. There's another group on the other side that basically are going to say, I'm not going to mask. I don't believe this is real, and all these different things. And it, again, is just another way of being able to say, I'm in control of my life, because none of us feel good about being out of control. Not a single one of us do. And when we don't feel in control, we don't do our best work. A lot of times what we'll end up doing is we get anxious and we start actually doing things out of anxiety, doing things out of preservation, doing things out of fear, doing things out of that sense of lack of control. And what ends up happening is we end up, I talked to somebody the other day that basically had said, that she can't believe how many Christians are basically just letting go of their values because of all these other different things that are going on in our culture. I thought interesting whole terminology, letting go of their values, or selling off their values for political this or ideological this or that. And I just thought that's a really interesting idea. But I think what it comes down to, and I think that what we're all wrestling with, is we don't have the same amount of control that we used to. I think that's the root of all of this dysfunction, is we feel like we don't have control. And we will do all kinds of things to be able to regain a sense of control. We want to go back to the way things were. Because at least at some level, with the way things were, even if they weren't perfect, we felt like we had control. And I want to ask you to think about, how is it that you are interacting with this lack or this perceived lack of control that you're going through? As a culture, we're incredibly divided. We are trying to grab a hold of, and when people don't feel like they have control, they try to grab a hold of things that they do believe that they have control of. Like, I have control of my own my own decisions. I have control of my own opinions. I have control of this and I have control of that. I have control of what I'm doing and whether I go out or whether I don't, or how I drive or how I don't drive. And by the way, I found that people are driving like just crazy in this time. I found that people are driving actually worse. Some people are driving more conservative. Other people are driving like just crazy people. In all of this, I believe the root of the whole thing is our perceived lack of control. Now, we in America, we've had a long run where we've had a lot of freedom and a lot of control over our destinies. We get to choose practically everything in our lives. And at this point in time, some of those things have come into question. Some of those things have been for the sake of safety and different kind of things like that. No matter what your conspiracy theories are, for safety and for all these different kinds of things, that some freedoms, quote unquote, some sense of control has been taken from us, at least by the government, to try to help us curtail the spread of this virus. So in all of that, we have, I think, a lot of people, I would say, are not doing their best work, and Christians included. And quite frankly, I'm very disappointed in lots of us, and myself included, in some of these things as well. So I want to ask you today to interact with God. Lord, am I feeling out of control? And if so, what am I trying to do about it? What kind of attitudes, what kind of actions are coming up in my life that I'm trying to deal with my sense of being out of control? What am I doing? What religiously am I doing to try to get some control? What relationally am I doing? What in terms of my own volitional kinds of things am I doing? All of those different things, attitudes, actions, relationships. What am I doing to try to get a sense of control? I'm going to be talking about this in weeks to come, because I believe that part of what God is saying is that when you actually signed up to be my disciple, you actually handed me the reins of control. And so I think that a lot of times what we're doing is we're grasping for control instead of surrendering to God, that we're either saying, I'm either in control or I'm out of control. And I believe that the Lord is in the middle. He's saying, I'm still right here. Even though you might not feel like you're in control, even though things might seem like they're going crazy in your country and our society, I'm not out of control. I've not lost my management of the universe. I've not lost my head. I've not lost my cool. Now hang on to me. Take a deep breath. Hold on to me. I remember the way that the Lord spoke to the Israelites at one point in time. He said, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. That's the idea that I want to sow with you today. Are you feeling out of control? I think that that's at the root of our national mania right now. And I believe that the Lord speaks to that, but I think that the scriptural answers to this thing are not altogether satisfying, because they're different than we would think. Because Christians throughout the ages and even today throughout the earth don't have very many rights like we do, and they're flourishing. That's something to think about today. I love you. I'm standing with you. I'm praying for you. I believe that honestly, some of these ideas are really important in terms of getting on the right topics, in terms of what's really going on with us, and then what's going on in terms of how we can interact with a culture that feels out of control. Love you. I'm praying for you. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll talk tomorrow.